is really nice what you can come up with in 72 hours. And yeah, that's actually incredible that all the teams did so well.
With a lot more knowledge, a lot more friends, and a lot more skills. So what is better than that? Thank you all for everything.
I'm very happy to see that I'm not alone, and a lot of us, not to say all of us, believe that the world can be a better place for every woman.
So, if someone says that there are no women in tech, please come to the hackathon and experience the power of a community. It is innovation 100% and it is power. And this is a power of Sustainer together with all of us.
It was a great learning experience and amazing team. You guys are doing the best job, so keep continuing, and I hope Sustainer grows.
Being kind, inclusive, it's not a discussion, then you already made it. So I think that's like something to miss out in the work. But here in this space, we really be kind and supportive to each other. So I feel really touched by that. And with that, I would say everyone is really the winner of the event. Thank you.
Can we hear each other?
Yes.
Lovely. Welcome to another Friday Appetizer by Sustainer, where we use technology as a source for good and gather experts in AI, Web3, sustainability, and longevity. Today, our topic is about AI and the future of leadership. And we have a very diverse panel for this very broad and even complicated topic. And yes, I would love to introduce myself. I am Kevin. I'm the founder and CEO of Jedi and Sustainer. And we basically build market intelligence software with Jedi to solve complex problems in Europe and beyond. And with Sustainer, we want to gather the leaders in these fields to solve inequality problems in technology. I would invite my co-founder, Yip, to do a quick introduction to Sustainer, and we take it from there with our interesting topic today.
Hi, and welcome, dear audience, listening from across the globe. Hi, Eva. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Rihanna. I'm very happy to welcome you experts to our session today on the future of leadership that will or may or may not be heavily impacted by AI and the progress of technology. A Sustainer is a community that is built and formed around a concept that we call sustainability. It's written with a Y, as you can see. It's not because we don't know how to write sustainability, but we think that sustainability, in the way it is discussed right now, sometimes lacks the angle of systemic, holistic thinking and assessing of the impact that our actions have on society and economy. That's why we introduced the notion of systemic thinking into sustainability and uplift it to the level of regeneration. And regeneration can happen on so many different levels. So each LinkedIn Live session, we explore a different angle around the topic of sustainability, regeneration, and how we can use our technologies in our everyday domains to contribute to that. In essence, Sustainer is a community of those technology to drive, preserve sustainability and drive regeneration using different technologies, human-based technologies or engineering technologies to advance the sustainable development goals developed by the United Nations in the Agenda 2030. In essence, we hope to bring together today, and not only today, but over the course of our next interactions, cutting-edge information and insights from experts in different disciplines. In our perspective, innovation happens when you connect the dots, when you connect dots in a way that has not been connected before. This is why for us, in our activity, it's so important to connect people from different disciplines and to bring a stage to those voices that sometimes are not put into the It's about technologies and humanity. So today, I'm very, very excited to learn from you and to also share how we in Sustainer are seeing leadership and AI. Thank you very much, Kevin, for hosting the event today. Word over to you.
Thank you. I would invite, as a start, everybody in the room to give a brief introduction about themselves. What are they building and why are they building what they're building? Then we will move on into the discussions to harness the deep expertise you have and how it relates to AI and the future of leadership. Maybe we have Veronica go first, and you can play hot potato and throw it to whoever you feel fit.
I love it. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. It's inspiring. I love it. Also, love how diverse the community is. So I'm Veronica. I'm originally from Chile, living in Germany for about 9 years now. I'm a very weird fish that ended up in technology. I'm a building architect. I worked as an architect for 6 years before even dipping into tech. In architecture drove me in a very unexpected way to sustainability. When I was still studying, one of my sisters was a bit older than me, and I thought that like just incredibly cool at the time. She's still amazingly cool, I have to say. But at the time, she was like, she was my idol in coolness. And we go for coffee. I was just starting to study architecture, and she asks me if we're dealing with sustainability. And I didn't want to be less. So, of course, I was like, yes, we are. I had never heard the word in my life, of course. So I come back home, and the first thing I do is I Google what sustainability is. And that moment just made my head explode. I'd never had this idea that buildings could restore environments. I never even gave it a thought that this concept of sustainability was even out there. So I became very passionate in my university years about sustainability. And then when I graduated, I started doing consulting on sustainability for the built environment. So mostly LEED certification, and then I did a bit of energy audits, waste management, the water management, and improvements, but always like in this, spectrum of building. And after a couple of years, I got curious and decided to expand into something bigger and started looking into sustainability in a more holistic way. I looked into business. I worked with NGOs and worked with activists all over the world, thanks to my first startup. Then worked as a full-time chief sustainability officer for a roller coaster company. So creating the first ever metrics on sustainability and impact, both social and environmental, as well as governance, for a roller coaster, which is one of the most interesting challenges I've had so far. And now I'm building Valumia, the first tool that startups and SMEs will actually want to use to report on their sustainability. So that's a little bit of my journey, and I'd love to, throw the ball to somebody else.
And to who?
Let's say Rihanna, because I see her laughing a bit.
Hi everyone. It's lovely to be here. My name is Rihanna Spring. I'm the founder and CEO of Spring Act, which stands for Action, Compassion, Technology. I'm an international human rights expert by trade. I've worked with the UN and the Foreign Ministry pretty much across the globe on all continents, protecting human rights. And that's where, in one of my last missions in West Africa, I realized this gap between the resources available and the people needing those resources. It's my genuine belief that we as a human race have all the resources, both financial and otherwise, to help every single person on this planet, but that there's this gap in connecting these two. And that's when I started out exploring what could I do to close this gap, and eventually ended up in creating a chatbot. This was a few years before ChatGPT, and nobody quite understood what a chatbot was. So it's been a very interesting development as well in that sense. And when the pandemic then hit, and domestic violence rose so drastically around the world, we pivoted to focus this chatbot specifically on empowering survivors of domestic violence globally and helping them gather potential evidence and seek help wherever they are in the world. I initially, when I was 17, I learned to code myself, and that was always a random thing in my life. I'm like, why? It makes no sense. I studied international law and I have this like coding background, but it all came together then to build what is now Spring Act. The chatbot is called Sophia. Yes, over to you, Eva.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eva, and I'm a founder and CEO of 93 Inc. So my technology journey started like very early on in my life. I think being from Lithuania, from the Baltics, we kind of have it in our blood, and early on in the education system as well. So I've been, kind of involved in technology at one level or another, like for pretty much all my life. My journey onto sustainability, as this is such a big topic, part of the topic of this event, actually started also many years ago. I have a company now. I'm a co-founder of a company that is sort of involved in film and TV production and distribution. And before I started that company, kind of life led me in this like TV industry path, and I had like a big pleasure to work with Sir David Attenborough for quite a few years, producing the shows with him. And the big angle of those shows was obviously sustainability. So that's when I became very aware of the problems that our planet is facing, and kind of all our programs were focused on potential solutions for that as well. I continue doing that sort of work as well. So I'm a co-founder of a TV company still. And like our latest project, for example, is also with Bill Gates Foundation, which talks about climate solutions to climate change. And and then a couple of years, so I've had this company called 93 Inc. for quite a few years already. And a couple of years back, we started looking at how to help companies bridge the skills and technical gap and remain competitive in this AI revolution. So this is about me.
Wonderful. That's a very good intro. I really honor the work you're all doing. In terms of our expertise and discussion, I like to have themes or lenses that we can focus on. And I believe each of you brings a wealth of technological and leadership expertise. And I would like to initially start off with Yeva, so you can continue about the skills lens, because your vision and mission is to use AI in addressing the skills gap in society. And it's very conducive to our topic of AI and the future of leadership. And how would you position yourself there in that specific vertical? And also, how would you like to change that industry or make a mark there as a leader?
Look, so I think this is a very kind of complex subject. I think everyone talks about like AI bubble, right now. Like many people say, oh, like, look, it's just a bubble, it's gonna pass. And I do agree on one extent that yes, a lot of companies that raise money now, saying that the AI companies are gonna collapse. However, technology is here to stay, and it will redefine many aspects of our lives and the society, potentially more than any other man-made technology of the past. So I see a massive wave of change coming, and I'm very concerned that our society is not ready for it. And I believe that many people and businesses will be blindsided by these developments. So bear with me, and I would like to explore it from 3 different angles. So business, employment, and education. So from what I see working, and our kind of services are really a lot of times are focused for non-tech companies helping to bridge this gap. So I see a massive reshuffle and shift in terms of business leaders across the industry coming, both in terms of individuals and the companies. I think the company's success or even survival will really depend on how quickly and efficiently companies in different industries will be able to adapt the AI solutions. which means that companies need more talent who's capable of using AI and machine learning, and employees who are capable of using AI. And sorry, employees who are not able to use AI will be replaced, right? Or let go. So this week I spoke to, the reason why I'm so alarmed is like this week I spoke to, C-level executives of some of very big companies, not from the tech sector. And I asked them about, what is their strategy when it comes to the AI? And these are, companies that generate close to $1 billion revenue every single year, right? And they have no strategy there. So I really think that a lot of these companies are gonna be left behind and their competitors will take over. And then just example from like the film and TV industry, of the example of the impact from the film and TV industry, right, that I'm also very involved with, is like in the UK specifically, now 74% of people in this industry are already unemployed. 74% is like a massive, massive number, right? And 75% of those people who are unemployed are already struggling with their mental well-being. So it's going to cause like a massive, massive problem going forward. And we receive like CVs every 5 minutes at our company, right? And then a lot of these CEOs that I'm talking to as well, not these non-tech companies, have like no idea about AI. And I think when we live in this tech industry bubble, we kind of assume that everyone knows about AI, everyone has ideas how to use it, everyone has ideas of how to implement it, and so on and so forth. The reality is that only a tiny percentage of the society actually knows how to use it in a productive way. And most of the CEOs and leaders don't have a clue, right? So this creates a paradox. On one hand, there is a growing demand of AI savvy talent. And on the other hand, there is a significant portion of the population who will either be unemployed or will lack AI skills, right? And this needs urgent attention. So let's talk about the kind of last bit, which is education, right? Which is a way to address this. And I think in general, the problem is that our education system is completely not ready for this. Schools needed to start teaching about AI like yesterday. However, I think it will take years for the school system to catch up. And more concerning is that universities are not ready for this as well. So another example, last week I was talking to a friend of mine who was a professor in one of the top MBA programs in Europe, and I'm talking like top 5. They kind of, aside from like, personal stuff, they were like, listen, yeah, but I really need to sit down and talk to you about this AI thing because I'm teaching this in my course and I have no idea about it. So you have to explain this to me. So I mean, like these students that are currently in universities and that are going to come into like job market in the next year or two will also have very limited understanding of AI and how to implement that in their particular industries. And also, lastly, I see very few companies in general investing in AI education of their employees. And I think the ones that do invest see a massive increase in productivity and revenues. And many of them, the ones that don't invest in this, they will have to let go of their staff because I think they will not be able to remain competitive, and that will just add towards like unemployment. So I think we need to address this at governmental level and and also at employment market level to upskill the talent that we have in the employment market right now. And that's where my company comes into play, right? That's kind of our mission, to help as many people and as many companies as possible to remain competitive in this AI revolution. I hope it made sense.
It makes perfect sense. And anybody who wants to support Yeva with that grand mission, please do reach out. We will, at least from Jedi, co-create the next way of AI-enabled societies. But aside from that, thank you for your insights. I am also very interested in the lens of using AI as a tool for good. And your amazing story, Rihanna, and how have you been working with human rights and how you yourself, knowing how to code and build products, have integrated these two worlds of impact on a larger scale, having worked on the ground in emerging economies and building tools for people to use. How do you synthesize all of this, and what is the grand vision of Spring ACT?
Thanks, Kevin. And I can really just second what you're saying, Eva. It's really interesting for us to be in this tech bubble. I'm generally surprised when I go out of it and people haven't used ChatGPT by now. I'm like, how have you not used ChatGPT? People are scared. So it's like I'm in this very interesting intersection between I'm not fully in the tech bubble. My bubble is more international law, human rights. And so I've made it my mission to kind of help say exactly what you said, Eva, right? People are scared of AI. You don't need to be scared of AI. You need to be scared of people that can use AI if you don't, because those are the people that are going to replace you, not AI itself. So I think it's really important that, I mean, the greater good, starting just with your surroundings, is if you are come from the tech field, to really try and make people less scared of AI. And with this Gen AI coming with ChatGPT, etc., I think it's more human-like, so it's hopefully easier. From my perspective, or my kind of work, AI and technology in general is, I literally, in the actual word, a sense of the word, life-changing and life-saving. The governments and NGO sector, unfortunately, are notorious for adapting very slowly. Governments, I understand, because the security has to be airtight, but NGOs and the aid sector is just very slow in adapting. And this is where we have the biggest possible impact. So when we started developing Sophia, this was at a time where most company websites had a chatbot that was very frustrating to talk to, but at least it was there. But in contrast to even the UN, where I was working in a regional office at the time, we were still sending Word documents to one another with comments, and it was so frustrating. So there's a massive gap there that needs to be closed. And I hope that, but you have a lot of people that come from this sector as well that you can help, because the impact is just insane. Because it's great if you can, help, or you can make more profits for your company, etc. Of course, that gives more jobs. But just imagine all that technology and all that AI power that we can. My team right now, we started off, it was just me and a few friends that were helping and volunteering. At the time, nobody understood really what a chatbot was, so nobody wanted to put money behind our organization. So we crowdfunded individuals. They were full on and in this venture. And once we started, once we built it and launched it, it was fine. But we have over 30,000 people that have chatted to Sophia and have visited our website where Sophia is on, from 143 countries. And that all is just very long. It was just myself and my deputy, Jojo, that were doing, and a wonderful coder, Georgia. There was just the three of us, and we were able to reach thousands of people where otherwise would have been forgotten, in the sense of, we were able to reach people without having massive staff 24/7 speaking multiple languages. Sophia's it was a rule-based chatbot at the time, wrote the whole script, and then she was there 24/7. She now speaks 13 languages, again, can pick up people with their mother tongue, which is so important, especially in human rights. It's to maybe bring this a bit closer to you. You've got to imagine, in violence against women in general, but domestic violence in more closely, the person that is hurting you is probably the love of your life. They might be the father or the mother of your children. So to even admit this to yourself, that this is happening, the barrier is unbelievably high. You can't admit this to yourself. Admitting it to anyone else, best friend, even a social worker that's literally here to help just you with your situation, the barrier is so high. So with AI and technology, it's completely anonymous. Nobody needs to know that you're reaching out. You can find initial answers to your questions. Is this even an unhealthy relationship? What do I need to do if it is? Or what are my options? What are my rights, both as a victim, but also as a person? If your visa is tied to the abusive partner, can I stay in this country? What happens? Can I get a divorce? What happens to my children? All these things that you might be scared to talk to someone about, or don't have the language to speak to someone about. Technology and AI can be there for all these people. So one, on the accessibility level, but two, also on the geographical level, where I'm sitting in Switzerland and we have people everywhere in the world chatting to Sophia in the most remote areas as well. So we don't need locations and offices and staff members everywhere to do the first outreach. That's needless to say, this is not the end goal. Sophia, just to make really sure that the goal of Sophia is always to bring people that are suffering from domestic violence to an actual person to speak. I don't think robots should replace humans, but really just amplify their work and just make all these routine tasks, the routine questions that are very often asked, can just pick up people in where they are, basically, because it can be so personalized. So my wish for the world is really that, especially this sector, this human rights sector and aid sector, really embraces AI and technology, because the impact can be so big.
That's very inspiring. Thank you so much. I believe there's 3 foundational layers for change. It's people, processes, and technology. And if, of course, you human, I think we cut for a moment. I hope you can hear me. But to work with stakeholder deep expertise in these 3 is the way forward. And I would like to invite Veronica to share her lens, the environmental lens, and what she's building with her team, and how it contributes to the future of AI and leadership.
Thank you. It's funny because I believe I come from a very, very different angle towards sustainability. So both Rihanna and Eva, you work with this relationship between technology and people, and how we amplify, in a way, like how we improve people's well-being. For me, I've been focused. I would say I'm a very, very, very nerdy person, and something that I absolutely am fascinated about is data. And there's so many points of data that we don't have. And as I said, I've always been a nerd. So I've always liked to make my decisions based like informed, objective data. And for the first time in history, and especially in the European Union, where we are all sitting, I think, well, Switzerland is not the European Union, but let's say European continent, where we're all sitting, for the first time in history, there's regulation that is affecting smaller companies and require them to report on their sustainable indicators. So that's covering environmental, social, and governance factors. So how you deal with the planet, how you deal with waste, how are your resources being used, like resources in terms of raw materials, energy, water, and so on and so forth, but also what the relationship with this smaller businesses and even startups is starting to be with their people inside of their company, people outside of their company, communities around them. And I think that is incredibly interesting. That being said, even though it's incredibly interesting that there's this new regulation, I think there's incredibly cumbersome and bothersome for smaller companies to be able to deal with this reporting requirement, especially when they don't have the knowledge in-house. And I think this is where tech just comes to the rescue. And of course, like AI definitely enhances the capabilities of a team to be able to start a slow and piece by piece complying with these regulations, which by the result of having reporting and having data on sustainability performance of these smaller companies will give us, like as a global society, the first baseline of 90% of the world's economy. So 90% of the world's economy are startups and SMEs. 99.9 in the European Union. So even though sustainability analytics, sustainability metrics, sustainability reporting has been around for about 30 years, it has only until now been on larger companies. So for 30 years, we've had better and better, debatable sometimes, but better and better data of larger companies, but nothing from 90% of the world's economy. So we had been looking before at the wrong place. Now that we're opening this world to the biggest chunk of the world's economy, then the possibilities are amazing. And what we're doing at Valumia is that we're creating a tool that makes it simple and fast for startups and SMEs that don't have the knowledge, that don't have the capability inside of the team, and that are weary of paying hundreds of thousands of euros in consulting to start their first metrics, to start their first reporting, to start to just dip their toes for the first time into measuring and reporting their sustainability indicators, again, on environmental, social, and governance. And I find this fascinating, and it's something that it's only because the technology has progressed to a point where we can leverage LLMs, where we can leverage extensive databases to help smaller companies make their reporting easy. So like this, the possibility, and bear with my nerdiness, but the possibility of having data from 99% of the economic like pool of the region that will allow us as a collective society to create better policies, to define thresholds, to establish sustainability performance. I find that extremely exciting, and it's just, I think, like the most ethical way even that we could use technology for to do good, and I love it.
Can I just jump in there? I think I love your passion for data. That you can really, it's palpable, you can feel it, and I know how important that is. But just I'd love to just add a story to show how important it is. Like give a human face to what data can do, and it comes from Tanzania, where donors, they fundraised and to build a maternity hospital because the death and childbirth rate was so high in that area. And so they fundraised and they went and they built the hospital and nothing changed. So they went back down and checked out what was happening, and they realized they built the hospital on this like tiny little island. It's not really an island, but there was a bridge to get onto that place. And local customs and beliefs were that if pregnant women cross a bridge, their child will die. And so that's why where data comes in, if you can measure your social impact, you can measure what you're doing, you can make better, like more informed decisions. I think that's data for so many people is very it's a blurry thing. Like, what does that actually mean? But you can tell stories with it, basically.
For sure, there's a case that I love that one of my students, when I was teaching abroad to me, there was in London. This is like 1800s. There was a huge upsurge of a disease, and they couldn't. I can't remember which disease it was, but it was like related to stomach issues, and people were dying from this. And they couldn't treat it, they couldn't do anything, and they started looking at the layers of the city. So different, where schools were, they looked at where people were living, and they ended up looking at points of where wastewater was traveling. And turns out that from those points of wastewater, you had like a radius that was infecting people. So based on this very small data point, they could very easily and also very cheaply just completely eliminate this epidemic that they were having in London at the time, which I find fascinating.
Lovely. We also have another guest joining us, our dear friend, Nigar, who is an expert in a multitude of cybersecurity and trust related issues and is a lecturer. And we will let her join us in a moment. I just want to say appreciate your insights, Veronica, and however we can support, the fruition of that vision that you're building in Germany and in the Latam region and everywhere in the world. We're happy to support. Next, I would invite my dear business partner, Yip, to talk about her very long and in-depth experience in the blockchain and AI world, having built education programs for thousands of women and non-women in blockchain, and also being an expert in a variety of fields. And I'll let Yip take the stage and tell herself what is the future of AI and leadership.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I actually would love to set the focus on what we have discussed earlier, what Eva has already mentioned, Rihanna is speaking about, Veronica is speaking about. The main benefit of technology nowadays is that it brings down the unit economics. It brings down the unit economics in a way that certain activities that would have been prohibitively expensive to offer before are now available to so many more people and can be integrated in a sustainable way into daily operating workflow. This is really, really remarkable because you could imagine this is the same effect as maybe the printing press had, the introduction of the printing press, when reading and writing before was only available to a very tiny group of people that had been supported by a certain community. And all of a sudden, the knowledge is available everywhere, and then people could copy that technology and use it for all other different use cases. And I totally agree with what Eva said earlier, that when we think of this technology, actually, I would even think we can think of this technology like electricity. When electricity was introduced, also people were really scared about it because all of a sudden you could turn on the light switch and then it's bright outside, like bright inside the room. This is kind of, it could have been a spirit or an evil ghost, but people didn't really know what to do with it. And I think it's actually fair to feel fear. It's very human and it's important. Until nowadays, I feel like sometimes we embrace technologies too easily without really questioning what is the behind the technology. How does this electricity, when I come back to the light bulb example, actually come to us? We can actually say, yes, it's amazing that all of us now have electricity and all of us can have light in our house. But sometimes when we think about what was the sacrifice that Mother Earth had to give to us so that all of us can have electricity in our house, some of us might even reconsider not to use that anymore, just to be on a very extreme example. So there's ups and downs, like light and shadow, as we would say it. And the important thing is there's no right or wrong. I think every human being can make their own decision, but to be empowered to make their own decision, that's kind of where education comes in. In sustainability, we speak about ability to sustain in a systemic way. And this ability requires, and I think here's where projects like what Eva is building, or Veronica is building, or Rihanna are building, are so important, because the distribution of access to knowledge and education and access to these tools, or knowing how to use these tools, is very unequally distributed. In particular, you can see when you look at the companies that are owning and developing these technologies, it's not representing and not shaped by a representative share of society. It's a kind of those who shape and own the technology, not necessarily those who are affected mostly by it. And I think it's a systemic issue, and education can solve that issue, because when we can catalyze education and reasonable understanding of the technology behind it, then we can create that world in which everyone can contribute to shaping the future direction of this technology and how it's used in our everyday life. It is what we kind of do with a sustainer. We provide these platforms, but also with Jedi, because access to education, access to knowledge that might be very inaccessible nowadays, with the data transcription technologies that are available, with the LLM structuring technologies that are available, with the reporting technologies that are available, we can generate access to human learning in the way that is more natural to human learning. And I really love what, for example, Sophia does, because that's combining so many challenges in one service offering. The challenge that you don't even have the vocabulary to speak about certain things. It's kind of an education problem, right? But like who would learn about a course, like take a course on domestic violence and the terminology around it? Probably not when you are kind of the victim in that space. You don't have time for that, right? But when you have a bot or a trusted instance to speak to that immediately guides you and helps you identifying the right terminology, like going to the doctor, you kind of illiterate, you don't really know, you can speak about your symptoms, not in a medical way, but there's the translator, the doctor, that translates your symptoms into something that is treatable. And I think this technology nowadays, it can do that for any kind of use case. And that's also what we are building with Jedi, the platform where any kind of expert generated knowledge is first of all documented. Like we have so much content right now, even our conversation right now, 60 minutes together, that's 40 to 50 pages of transcript. And this needs to be processed and stored and made available in a way that is accessible for those who seek for that information in an accessible way. There, like kind of, we provide our contribution to leadership in the future. We think that in order for you to lead yourself and to lead others, and for society to lead ourselves, we need to have a repository easily accessible of human generated wisdom, of projects that are like any of your projects there, and that can then be tapped into at ease. Else the wisdom is not accessible to all, and that's where systemic and power imbalances are there. So I'm happy that all of you are sharing this here. And sorry, Kevin, I am so keen on hearing what Nigar has to say.
Yes, maybe Nigar will recap that we focus on teams of AI and the future of leadership. And your team or lens will be trust, right? How do you build digital trust for the average consumer and how that relates to the future of leadership from what you are doing or the academic world, whichever line of reasoning best describes your insights. And maybe also you can have a quick introduction as you're joining a bit later, and then share us your expertise. Can you hear us? Okay, I'm not sure if we can hear you, Nigar. Okay, then we will return to this as soon as Nigar follows back. I would like to show a token of appreciation for everybody's insights and also ask the question of, do you think that AI will be an agent that will guide humanity, or will it just be another automation tool? What are your thoughts in developing humanity with the support of AI agents? Because everybody's talking about agents, and would these agents be our leaders, or would they just be an automation tool in education or in environmental or ESG reporting or human rights or blockchain? Because the human brain and the human essence has reasoning, and an AI agent does not presumably yet have an essence. But would it be guiding humanity or just another automation tool? And I would invite our panelists to answer this question that we had from the audience.
If I can weigh in on that.
This is like,
um,
sure.
I think that there's like it's a double-edged sword. I wouldn't dare to predict. Maybe I'm too careful, but I wouldn't dare to predict if it's going to be a guidance or just an automation. I think smarter people, at least in this early stage of the technology, will probably, or like the most prepared people would use it as an automation tool. But I also have seen already people using systems like ChatGPT, like they're full on emotional support, slightly like their therapist. And I think there's a very big risk in that because the systems are not prepared to do that. There's a lot of obscurity on how the systems have been trained, like the lack of transparency of what they could and could not recommend. I think I think it's a tool, and what is going to dictate what it becomes is how we collectively use it as a society, not necessarily the tool. You can do good things, you can do bad things with any kind of tool, maybe except a gun where I see no good things happening from there. But like, let's take Word. You can write a legal like document, or you could write, the manifesto for uh, an attack on a certain society, or you could write the most beautiful novel, and it's the same tool. AI is also a tool, and I think it will depend on how we collectively use it and how we prepare societies to effectively use it for good and not for bad.
Lovely. I would return to this question if we have time. Nigar, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear, guys. Hello, greetings from Azerbaijan, from Baku. I'm sorry, I have some problem with my internet. I'm here again, and regarding the building digital trust in an era where artificial intelligence plays very crucial role in our modern history, I think that it can be problematic. Why? Because however, actually, it's evident that today we created more powerful, more intelligent, in my point of view, more faster technology. And I can say that the emergence of this technology we can consider like the end of the human dominance in the history and the beginning of the new era where the algorithms will play a very crucial role in every field. And when we are thinking, considering this topic like artificial intelligence, what we do actually know about artificial intelligence, we can say actually it's intelligent systems. They can actually create new decisions. They can actually generate new ideas independently. And often AI makes very actually complex decisions that are beyond of our understanding. And these decisions AI can actually make not only just only in one field, like for example in financial, no, in every field, like in education, like in healthcare, like in religions. And this opacity, in my point of view, can lead to distrust because we cannot easily understand how or why certain actually decisions are made, because actually when we are considering algorithms, when we are considering the artificial intelligence, we can say that artificial intelligence rely on the data. And data, it's a very important fuel of the artificial intelligence. And without the data, actually, these algorithms, the systems will be useless. And when we are considering the cybersecurity or cyberspace, we can say that not every data in the system actually transparent or accurate and clear. That's why for the lack of the transparency, in my point of view, can cause different problems. And the lack of the transparency is problematic when we are trying to build the trust in AI-driven systems. And when we are using these actual systems, in my point of view, organizations and the developers, they need to provide insights into how these AI algorithms make decisions. That's why we need to ensure the transparency. And in my point of view, algorithms should be readable, should be understandable and transparent. Explainable artificial intelligence and transparent algorithms can help bridge the gap between like human understanding and AI decision making. Also, I think that with transparency, when we use the transparency in the algorithms, it's very vital. Why? Because we can establish more ethical systems, more more safe systems. We can actually create more democratic society or democratic like systems which can help us also to understand how these actually algorithms um, create different ideas independently and so on. I think that also it's very important to consider, like Yip mentioned, the education is very, very important, very crucial. Why? Because educating the public about artificial intelligence, it is very crucial, and we can create more confident and more informed society. Also, I think that the data protection regulations in artificial intelligence can play a very important role when the organizations and when developers they are trying to create some systems using these algorithms. These stricter protection regulations can ensure the responsible use of the personal information in AI systems. And if the countries do not have regulations, some countries, you know that in some countries they don't have AI regulations or some standard, that I think that they should implement them to ensure the responsible development and deployment of artificial intelligence technology, because the stricter data protection regulation in these systems are essential to protect privacy, prevent discrimination, ensure security, establish accountability, and promote transparency. And also, the ethical guidelines also play, in my place, a very important role, in my point of view, because ethical guidelines in artificial intelligence are essential to ensure that the development and deploying of artificial intelligence technologies align with ethical principles and societal values. It will help us to create more democratic systems and more ethical and more useful, I think, environment for the users, because the data is a very important power today in our life, and without the data, these algorithms really will be useless. And we should to first of all understand the synchronization between the systems and between the data. Like I mentioned, because actually the data which circulated in the cyber field, not all data actually is accurate and or clear. That's why, in my point of view, we should provide more awareness, more trainings. We should to establish the systems which will be readable, more understandable, and more fair for creating the digital trust in our life in the modern era. It's my point of view, Kevin.
Amazing. Thank you for your in-depth analysis of the field from the academic and tech-driven lens. I would invite all of us to summarize in 30 seconds what is our moonshot. A moonshot is a crazy, reasonable goal that you believe you as an individual or a company or a team or all of us should achieve in this lifetime, whether it be in education or developing algorithms or building companies or investing. Let us start with Yeva. What is your moonshot for the future?
Oh, good one. AI opens so many possibilities that I think you need a really big imagination to basically to implement it efficiently and create the moonshot. But I think AI has such a massive potential for us to solve most of our problems as a humankind. And I would like to be me or the projects, the businesses that I build to be part of it, to build technologies or businesses that actually help to make this planet a better place and solve very important issues of our planet.
Thank you. How about Veronica?
Nerdy one again. I will like my moonshot would be to have all of startups and SMEs understanding their sustainability impacts and what they can improve. All of them. That's the only way. If we have mass adoption of like this very granular element, then we can do anything. We can achieve anything. We can restore the nature that we have lost. So that's my moonshot.
Rihanna?
Thanks. I love that question. I would say the moonshot of us at Spring Act, but also as humanity, is I believe AI needs to be regulated, that the AI doesn't replicate the biases that we have that are very, very present in any AI that I've chatted to, at least. To think that the world is predominantly white and male and forgets anyone else. So to have that, to secure the AI that it is better than us humans, basically, and that we can work hand in hand to bring help and empower people everywhere in the whole world. So with Sophia, our moonshot is to bring Sophia and empower people in every single country in the world on a district level, wherever they are.
Lovely. And Yip?
Our moonshot as sustainer is to empower and train 1 million women and non-women in understanding technology, understanding how to use it as a force for good, and using it as a force to uplift the SDG by 2030.
Sounds like a pretty ambitious task. Amazing. And Nigar?
Yes, I think that the transparency, like prioritizing the ethical development, security, education, by educating the people, we can create the future where AI will be more useful, more and where these services, these algorithms will be able to create more democratic, actually, environment for us. And in my point of view, the transparency, the legal regulations, education, very, very important for creating very good environment in this field.
Now everybody will collaborate with all of our moonshots. I would, as a final minute briefing, invite Yip to share about not only the discussions we have at Sustainer, but also the events and the experiences we host ourselves in collaboration with world-leading institutions and experts. You want to
Yes,
talk a bit about the Castle event?
This is my personal invite to everyone attending us here today to come and spend 3 magic days with us at our castle retreat coming up June 20 to 23. This is the space where you meet other experts and world leaders in their area of expertise to share, deeply learn, and acquire knowledge in a very rapid way, and then connect the dots to create lasting collaborations and fund these projects. So we bring together entrepreneurs, investors, corporate leaders, artists, musicians to come together because creating an ecosystem of change requires all components of the system to be connected. So I hope to see you. We have only a few spots left and it's only in 3 weeks. So if you want to join us, please make your contribution and your decision very soon. Thank you everyone so much. And next week we come back with a session at this lunchtime about AI and wealth management. How can we actually use technology to augment our position of wealth in whatever way we define wealth? So that would be very, very intellectually stimulating discussion with experts who come from the fields of asset management and investment banking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's it from our end, and hope to see you at the castle and keep building technology for good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen, you and Fred. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.